My name is Sylvia. I'm passionate about languages, English in particular. Welcome to my world of English. Hi everybody, I hope you are well rested and I hope you're ready to rock and roll and concentrated because today we're going to cover a subject that you inquire about, namely a job interview. Those of you who are these regular listeners of the World of English podcast, those of you will know that there has been an episode entitled exactly this way. So there's been this episode called Job Interview, and it was episode number 16. And with this recording, with this episode of the World of English podcast, I'm going to present to you, in a way, a sequel to the 16th episode, because we're going to cover this subject of a job interview again, which means that we are going to make it part 2. When I say again, of course, it does not mean that we are going to repeat any of the things. So if you would like to have this full version of the World of English podcast covering the job interview subject, you would need to listen to podcast number 16 and then to this very episode, because it is this sequel, as I said. And by the way, please remember that if you want to use this expression, you would say a sequel too. So yes, indeed, this episode is a sequel to the 16th episode. As I called it sequel, or as I called it part 2, it means there are yet another questions that we need to cover. And in the first part of this job interview episode, I told you that actually attending a job interview and actually selling yourself well and actually standing this great chance of landing yourself a very nice job, it is not that difficult. Because what you have to do is you have to train a couple of phrases, you have to train a couple of answers, and you have to be first of all, aware of the questions that they can ask you. And there is a list of questions. Don't you worry. There is a list of questions and a list of areas in which recruiters are interested. And if you know them and if you rehearse them beforehand, you really stand a great chance to get the job that you dream of. In the first part of the job interview podcast, I covered a couple of questions, and today we are going to follow. I know that this podcast entitled Job Interview has been received very favorably, and I'd like to thank you for this. It indeed enjoyed much popularity, and the feedback I got from you, the messages I got from you, is also very favorable. So, as I said, I'd like to thank you for it, and I'd like to tell you that I know about it because I received this feedback, so I'm very happy. And what is very important in here is that there are a couple of listeners who actually got their dream job. So congratulations to all of you who managed to left the comfort zones, who attended job interviews, who spoke English and who got the jobs they were dreaming about. I'm really, really happy for you. So, as I said, let you listen to another questions that are there that you can be asked at a job interview. And the idea is quite similar to what we had last time, as it is functioning very well. So I decided to keep the same idea. So I'm going to ask these questions here. I'm going to give you the advice. I'm going to give you some hints, some tips how to answer these questions. And later on, I'm going to present you with some useful vocabulary, because it is the very important thing in here, right? So you have to know how to impress the recruiters, the language that you possess, that English that you know. It is not just a couple of very basic phrases, but you can actually use some nice advanced vocabulary. So another question that you can be asked at a job interview is as follows. What did you most unlike about the way you were managed in your previous company? And this question is very, very tricky. You have to be aware of this, because in this question, there is something hidden. I mean, you are given this opportunity or this possibility to spread the word about all the complaints, right? To show the people who are listening to you how dissatisfied with you, and then you can keep complaining about your bosses, your previous supervisors. You can tell them about all the elements that you didn't like in there. And this is a very big mistake, because you have to remember that we change jobs. And with every single job and with every single change that is there, we can do exactly the same, which means that if they will give you this job right now, they know that if you keep on complaining so much, and when you leave the company, you will do the same with them as well, right? So we have to be very, very careful here. Of course, when you are asked, and this is this general comment, when in a job interview, you are asked this question about something that you didn't like, and of course, you have to say something. I told you in the previous episode that you cannot pretend, you cannot make yourself look like you are this perfect creature, because nobody would believe that. It does not happen. And the people who are recruiting you, they are interested in this bones and flesh. They are interested in a real person and not in somebody who possesses this image of perfection, because nobody would believe it. So, of course, if you are asked about something that is rather negative, you can give a hint, right? You can say something that is of this, you can present something that was of poor quality, but you have to be very, very careful, and you have to tell them that you have learned your lesson. This is a key expression here, right? You have learned your lesson, you have covered the issue, you have solved the problem, and you are very happy because you are more experienced right now. So, when the recruiters ask you about the things that you didn't like about your management style, what you can say is there were issues, but we managed to solve them. So once again, you have to be very diplomatic in here. You can, of course, say something like give them the flash, as I used the expression before, right? Give them the little bit of information. So you can actually say that I would not like to be burdened with such a heavy workload like before, for instance. If that was true, that you had to stay in the office, say, for 9 or 10 hours instead of just 8 hours, because you want to show them that what you would like to do for them is this standard working hours, that would be 8 hours a day, for instance. Another thing that you can say here is, I presume what I learned from the whole situation is that you need to state your point when talking to your superiors, for instance. And yes, communication in a company is very important. This is what they stress most. The recruiters, the psychologists who are there for you to check how well prepared you are for a given job. So yes, you can say that there were some things you didn't like. Yes, you can say that that communication is very important, but you have to always finish with this feeling that you have learned something, that you have solved the problem, that now you are more experienced and you know how to behave. Question number 2 or number 7, depending on how you look at it, is which previous job did you enjoy most? Why? Why did you change it? What was the most important lesson you learned from the experience? As you see, this lesson thing that is repeated in here is a key thing. So with every question that you get, when there is this element of negativity, so you would be expected to just complain, always say that you have learned your lesson. That's a nice diplomatic expression, both in Polish and in English. And in English, it sounds the way that you can that you have just heard, right? So I have learned my lesson. And of course, there is no such a thing anymore like a job for life. So we change our jobs very often. We are between jobs very often. So we work for one employer and then we look for another one. So very often we change our possessions and we change our employers. And this is a natural thing. And of course, when you say that you changed this job, you would need to say why. The reason why I changed my previous job, for instance, that I wanted to grow, and we agreed with my previous boss that I had achieved it all back in the position I had. That's a nice phrase, isn't it? Yeah. So it shows that you have, it can mean that you grew a little bit bored, let's say, yes, because you have risen through the ranks, that you have performed all you could, and now you just need to climb up the career ladder, so to say. And of course, in such a sentence, you can hide the complaints a little bit, for instance. Another thing about the lesson is that the lesson I have learned is that building a team takes time. Yeah, again, a nice diplomatic thing for you to use at the job interview. But always, once again, this is this common advice in here, like advice to all of you, to all the questions that you will get there. Always when you answer a question, you cannot pretend that you are somebody that you are not. That's a key thing. And of course, you can answer this question of negativity, but always just say that you have learned something, that you just wanted to grow, that you wanted to move forward, that now you are a more experienced person than before. Another question. Why are you interested in the position with our company? This question is very much disregarded by people attending a job interview, so these applicants. And I will tell you why. I have experienced something myself. I've seen it, like observing people preparing for a job interview. And when they ask you, why are you interested in the position with our company? Many people do not know much about the company they would like to work in. That's a very bad mistake. Of course, when you apply for some given job, you have to know it inside out. You have to know the duties, you have to know the responsibilities, and also you have to know the company. Because if you show your true interest in the company, like how long they've been on the market, what they've been producing, what are the values, what is this mission statement, then you stand this chance of getting the job. But if they ask you something about the company, and I know that sometimes people, they don't even know about the business, their line of business, it leaves a very bad impression. Examples here, a couple of examples how you can approach that particular question is, I'm interested in the position as it would allow me to present my competence and shine through. I believe the company and I have the same goals. That's a nice one, very important. The position you are offering fits my interests and capabilities. Very nice phrases just to show how you are interested. Of course, these examples that I'm presenting to you, they are just these statements, right? They are just opening sentences. Of course, when you talk about interests and capabilities, then you have to give the proper names of these interests and capabilities, right? So when it comes to capabilities, it's what we could mean there is like working in this international environment, right? Or just delivering projects on time. It can be just anything. Of course, you have to call it, but this is this opening line and opening sentence. What 3 or 4 adjectives best describe you? What are your main areas for improvement? When you are asked this question and when there is this element of improvement, again, it introduces a little bit of negativity in here, because what you have to do here and the way you have to approach the question is that you have to show that there are these positive traits about you and also there are these negative traits about you. Again, just like in life, nobody's perfect. Don't pretend that you know it all. Don't pretend that you never make mistakes, because this actually will be a worse thing that you can do, a bad thing that you will do, because you will make a worse impression on them pretending that you have never made a mistake. You can differentiate between these 2 groups of adjectives in here, just saying on the positive side, and then you just say what kind of person you are, that you are hardworking, that you are dedicated, that you are committed, that you leave your whole heart in the company, for instance. And on the negative side, this is another group. Of course, you have to say something. Again, you have to give them some flesh. What you can say is, I need to stop being sensitive to criticism. That's a nice way of saying, right? So that some people are actually sensitive to criticism, so it is actually very difficult to criticize them. But here, there is another hint, and mind you, when you talk about your negative traits, so to say, and we all have them, you have to be very smart here and you have to know what kind of negative traits you can present. Of course, you can just say, right, that you sometimes didn't manage to deliver something on time, for instance, yes, or that once or twice you were late because you did not allow for the traffic in the city center. That's okay. But of course, you cannot talk about those huge failures, like the failures that cost the previous company a lot of money, that because of you some project just collapsed completely. So that is something you can't tell them, or you can't tell them that you are habitually late for work, because then nobody would like to give you this job. So of course there is this element of negativity here again. So you have to tell them about those elements that you have to work on, but you have to be smart, right? You cannot again talk about all your negative traits, because if you tell them that they cannot trust you, if you tell them that you are not a responsible person, it will be simply a disaster. Another question, guys, that is in this structured interview that you can get at a job interview is one of my favorite. It is one of my favorite because, again, you can present your vocabulary, but it is one of my favorite because it also is that kind of question at which many people fail. And I will tell you why. Again, you fail here because you pretend something. And mind you, once again, I'll repeat it, I'll say it once again, you cannot pretend when you attend a job interview because it will have disastrous effects for both for you and the company. So the question is as follows: rank interest in the job, and there we have like a couple of areas. We've got responsibilities, ability, stability, career development, and salary, and why. And when, of course, there is this word salary, where money comes into play, people are very much tempted to say that this is the most important thing for them. Or, on the other hand, people want to get this job so much that they would pretend it is not important. Yes, that they are not interested, they just want to get the job. But you have to remember that people who are recruiting you, people who are employed to conduct the job interview, they are prepared to do it. And they are equally, they are in an equally bad position, just like you are, because you want to get a job, you are stressed, but their job is to find the perfect candidate. No big company, no respected company would like to conduct job interviews every month or every 3 months, for instance, because if they, like the company, if they invest in you, if they give you the materials, if they prepare you for the job, they would like to know that you will stay there for a longer period of time. So that's why this job interview is so crucial. And that is why lying, if I may use this expression, it is absolutely not allowed. And I'll tell you why. So let's imagine there is this position. There are recruiters who have this position in which you will have a lot of responsibilities. You will be granted with this career development. So this is a great thing for young people who have just finished universities. They will get their experience. They will learn something new. They will develop greatly. But they will not be given a lot of money because this is, let's say, a startup project, or the company is just beginning, or the position that they are offering, it is just a new position, and they need the young, vibrant people who are concentrated and focused on development and rising through the ranks rather than making a lot of money. But on the other hand, if you are a person, right, with a family, with 2 kids, with a family that you have to provide for, and of course what you are interested in is this stability and the salary, obviously, because at one point we are interested in the salary because it is our remuneration, yes, it is the money that helps us survive and helps us make both ends meet. Of course, you cannot pretend that you are not interested in it, right? If they ask you how you like to work, I mean, are you that kind of person who works individually, or are you that kind of person who would rather work in a group of people? And then again, just wanting so much to get a job, you pretend that you like to work in a group, but in fact you are this individual person who works best when he or she is left alone. Then you are given a job and you are expected to work in a team, and you can't do it. So please, guys, please don't lie in here. Don't pretend that you are somebody you are not. You have to be smart, of course. You have to present yourself in a positive light, but then again, it has to be close to who you really are. And you cannot make up this personality. You cannot make up this persona, this somebody you are not, because, let me say it, it will have these disastrous effects both for you, because you will lose the job sooner or later, and for the company, because the company will have to go through this recruitment process once again, and this is something they don't want. All right, I hope you are following. So I told you to stay concentrated. I told you to keep listening and keep your open ears. I hope you have learned something so far. And well, I can't even say I hope. I'm sure if you stick to the advice that I have just presented, I'm sure there is a job you will get. I'm pretty sure. You just have to know, once again, let me say it, how to answer these questions and what vocabulary to use, and that's it. And very often when recruiters just check how good your English is, it is just a couple of minutes, right? So, but of course, there are those job interviews that are conducted, that are run entirely in English, but most of the time they would just check a couple of expressions in English. So once again, it is not as difficult, right? As difficult as you think. Just stick to the advice, just stay composed, just rehearse, revise, and I'm sure it will be all right. There are yet a couple of questions that can be asked. So one of them is, tell me about a situation when you were totally involved. In the previous episode, I used this example of the Boston project. So what you can say here is the last Boston project engrossed me completely, and I worked overtime to finish it. Yeah, that's the thing. What they can also ask you is describe your current position and its goals. So I'm responsible for my duties covering my realm of duties there are. And there you present what that is. Just last but one question that is there is, what aspects of your job do you like best, least, and why? Again, the element of negativity. So you know now how to approach this question. So you say something that you like and you explain it every single time. You have to explain, you have to justify why you say a certain thing. And then if there are these elements that you enjoy least or you enjoyed least, again, you would say why. So there were some issues, right? There were some disputes that something didn't, for instance, just wasn't this perfect match for your personality or something. But as a wise person, as an intelligent person, you would say that you have actually learned something from it, that now you know where the mistake was, the mistake that you have made, and you can move forward. The last question that you can be given is, do you have any questions? So this is the last question, and it says, do you have any questions? And again, a very tricky one, because many people would say here, no, I'm fine, perfectly all right. No, I do not have any questions. Thank you. And it is a mistake. Because you need to have questions. Again, you need to show interest in the company. You need to show interest in this interview. You need to show that you are totally involved, because the people that recruiters look for most of the time, they are the people who show this potential, who show this commitment, who show this involvement, just like in studying English, for instance. Yes. So there is this potential, there is this involvement, there is this commitment that is needed every single time. So if they ask you this question, do you have any questions? Then you say, yes, I'd like to ask about my working hours, for instance, or I'd like to ask about the organization of the whole team or whatever. So you can come with whatever thing there, but you have to have some question. I hope you have enjoyed it. I am sure, once again, I'm not going to say I hope, but I'm sure this episode of the World of English podcast will help you to land yourselves a great job. Listen to it, please. Revise the vocabulary. Email me at s.kravchik@speakeo.com. And if you have any questions, if you want me to help you in any way, I will gladly do it. Listen to my advice, and I'm sure you will be successful. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.